Noah Sullivan, a 43-year-old fashion CEO, lives in a grand Charleston mansion. He's built an empire of beauty and design, but his life feels empty. One stormy night, everything changes. A 13-year-old delivery girl named Chloe arrives at his doorstep. She slips and drops a paper, a birth certificate. Noah's name is listed as the father. Shaken, Noah remembers Lauren, the artistic woman he met at a fashion gala in Savannah 13 years ago. Their whirlwind romance was cut short by his demanding career. Now, Chloe and her twin brother Ethan are working to support their mother, who's battling cancer. The truth hits hard. These are his children, and they've been living without him. When Noah visits Lauren in the hospital, she reveals she sent letters, all intercepted by his assistant. Fueled by guilt, Noah takes action. He moves Lauren to a top medical center and welcomes the twins into his home. Chloe dreams of designing dresses. Ethan loves photography. As Noah helps them grow, danger looms. A greedy cousin wants custody. Noah fights back, armed with proof and love. A courtroom battle follows, but love wins. And, at the grand opening of Thread and Table, a fashion-themed cafe designed by Chloe, the birth certificate hangs framed, a symbol of truth, family, and second chances. Will Noah become the father he was meant to be? Subscribe to see this heartfelt story unfold. Rain tapped steadily against the tall windows of the Sullivan estate, soft and rhythmic, like a lullaby too lonely to soothe. Inside the grand foyer, the quiet echoed. Marble floors gleamed. Designer furniture sat untouched. In the center of it all stood Noah Sullivan, 43, impeccably dressed in navy slacks and a crisp white shirt, staring out into the storm with a glass of bourbon in hand. He wasn't waiting for anyone. That had stopped years ago. Charleston's skyline shimmered in the distance, cloaked in mist. His phone buzzed, but he didn't glance. It was probably another investor, another meeting, another event filled with smiles that meant nothing. Noah had built one of the largest fashion empires on the East Coast, Sullivan Atelier. But tonight, his reflection in the glass looked more like a stranger in a suit than a success story. Then, the doorbell rang. It was late, nearly 9 p.m., and no one ever came unannounced. Noah opened the door slowly. Wind howled, and standing beneath the arch was a soaked teenage girl, shivering in a thin hoodie and holding a large brown paper bag. She looked up with wide hazel eyes. "Delivery for Mr. Sullivan?" He nodded, surprised. "That's me." She handed him the bag with the trembling fingers. "Sorry, it's a little wet." Her voice was soft, but something about it made his stomach twist. He reached for the receipt she offered, then froze. A folded piece of paper slipped from her pocket, landing at his feet. The girl gasped and reached down quickly, but he was faster. Noah unfolded the page. It was a birth certificate. His name, Noah Thomas Sullivan, was listed under Father. He stared at it, heart pounding, the sound of the storm dulling beneath the weight of memory. "Where did you get this?" The girl froze. Her eyes darted toward the street. It's nothing, just... Never mind. Wrong house." "Wait," Noah said, stepping forward. "What's your name?" "Chloe," she whispered. The same name. Chloe. The name Lauren had once joked about if they ever had a daughter. Chloe or Ivy. "Who's your mother?" "Lauren. Lauren Pierce," she said. Her voice cracked on the last syllable. The air left his lungs. He hadn't heard that name in 13 years. Noah looked at the paper again, stunned by the handwriting at the bottom. Familiar, slanted, rushed. Lauren's. The storm roared louder now, but inside the silence grew heavier. Chloe hugged herself, soaking wet and suddenly defensive. "I didn't mean to drop it. It's old. Doesn't matter. My mom's sick and we're just trying to work. can I go now?" Noah stepped aside, still in shock. "Wait, your mother, is she all right?" "She has cancer," Chloe said bluntly. "Stage 3. She's still trying to cook and take care of us, but some days she can't get out of bed." "Us?" "My brother and me. Ethan. He's my twin." Twins. Noah's hand tightened around the paper. 2 children. He felt the burn of lost years settle deep in his chest. "Chloe," he said gently, I knew your mother. A long time ago." Chloe looked up at him, uncertainty flickering across her face. "She said you were gone, that you didn't want us." Noah's voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't know." They stood in the doorway, 2 strangers tethered by a name on paper and 13 years of silence. Behind them, the wind blew the door wider. A single red scarf, soaked from Chloe's hoodie pocket, slipped to the floor. Noah picked it up. It was handmade. Uneven stitching, vibrant thread, slightly frayed on the edge. He held it carefully. "I want to help," he said. She hesitated, watching him, unsure whether to believe the man whose name was on her birth certificate. The red scarf hung between them, like a bridge of thread waiting to be repaired. The rain hadn't stopped. It fell heavier now, hammering the stone steps as Chloe stood there, arms crossed, trying to hide her shaking. Noah watched her. Not just the fear, but the pride in her posture, the way she stood her ground like someone who'd had to grow up too fast. He gently held out the scarf. "Is this yours?" She hesitated. "I made it for my mom, but it doesn't matter now." "It does," he said softly. "Things like this always matter." Chloe's eyes flicked down, then back to his face. "I need to go." "Let me drive you," Noah offered. "No, we walk," she replied quickly. "Ethan's waiting at the corner. We do the late shift together. I already took too long." "Please," Noah said, his voice lower, steady. "Just tell me where. I'll drive you both. It's raining hard." She stared at him. The silence stretched. Finally, she nodded once. 15 minutes later, they pulled up beside a crumbling brick duplex on the city's west side. The sidewalk was cracked, and a flickering street lamp barely lit the porch. Ethan stood there, skinny, rain-soaked, holding 2 plastic bags and a flashlight. When he saw the black SUV, he stepped in front of his sister. "Who is that?" "It's okay," Chloe said. He's someone Mom used to know." Ethan eyed Noah through the window, cautious. His face was narrower than Chloe's, but unmistakably similar. Same sharp cheekbones, same dimple when he frowned. Noah got out slowly. "Hi, Ethan. I'm Noah." "Why are you here?" the boy asked flatly. "I just found out about you 2 tonight. I didn't know. About anything." Chloe stepped in. "We should go inside. Mom hasn't eaten." Inside the apartment, the smell of steamed rice and damp carpet filled the air. A single lamp glowed in the living room, casting soft light on worn furniture and stacked medical bills on the counter. On the couch lay Lauren. Her face was pale, framed by thinning hair, but her eyes were the same, almond-shaped, always observing. When she looked up and saw Noah, she didn't speak. She just blinked twice, then tried to sit up. "Don't," Chloe whispered, rushing to her side. Noah took a step closer. "Lauren, I didn't know." She studied him with tired eyes. "Of course you didn't. You were busy becoming everything you said you'd be." Her voice was weak, but there was no bitterness, just weariness. "I thought you left," he said, "that you moved on." "I wrote," she replied, "letters, emails, all ignored." Noah felt a chill crawl up his spine. "I never saw them." Lauren smiled faintly, sad. "I figured. Maybe someone made that decision for you." He looked at the kids, then back at her. "Are you getting treatment?" "Chemo. When we can afford it," she murmured. Noah swallowed hard. "Let me help." Ethan tensed. We don't need pity." "I'm not offering pity," Noah said. "I'm offering what I should have given a long time ago." Lauren coughed, and Chloe handed her a glass of water. On the wall behind them hung a single framed picture, a crayon drawing of a woman in a dress, two children beside her, and a man with no face. Noah stared at it. Chloe noticed. "I never knew what to draw for him, so I left it blank." Noah stepped closer, his voice breaking. "I want to earn a place there." The room went quiet again, except for the rain tapping the windows. Ethan stood still. Chloe leaned against her mother, and Lauren nodded once. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something close. A beginning, a chance. The man with no face finally had a name. Noah sat in the quiet of his car just outside the duplex. Rain still drummed on the windshield, but his mind had already drifted far from Charleston's storm-soaked streets. The crayon drawing haunted him. The man with no face. The empty outline of someone who was supposed to stay. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. 13 years ago. He had just finished a spring collection in Paris and flown directly to Savannah for a private fashion gala at the historic Whitmore House. The air had smelled of jasmine and champagne. Cameras flashed, models swayed through candlelight, and every guest had something to prove. Except her. Lauren. She hadn't belonged to the elite crowd. She wasn't wearing designer. Her vintage floral dress had been thrifted, pinned at the waist with a brooch shaped like a sunflower. Noah had watched her sketching in the corner of the ballroom on a torn napkin, capturing gowns mid-sway with such fluid detail it made him stop mid-conversation. He'd introduced himself, expecting the usual awe or flattery. But she just smiled. "Noah Sullivan. Your suits are too stiff, and your color palettes need courage." He had laughed for the first time in weeks. They talked for hours that night, about art, fabrics, and failure. She didn't care about his brand. She cared about stories. Her laugh echoed in his ears even now, vivid and full of life. They spent 3 days together after the gala, sneaking into rooftop cafes, dancing barefoot on her apartment floor, eating peaches in the sun. It was the first time Noah had felt like someone outside the persona. With her, he wasn't the CEO, he was just Noah. But the calls kept coming. His assistant, his investors, his board. One morning, she handed him a small, hand-stitched pouch with a button closure. "If you're going to leave," she said, "at least carry something real with you." Inside was a single pin. The sunflower from her brooch. Noah had kept it in his drawer all these years, buried beneath watch bands and cufflinks. He never opened that drawer. Until now. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the pouch. The fabric had faded, the seams frayed, but the button still held tight. He opened it slowly. The sunflower pin glinted in the dim car light, a symbol of something warm that he'd let go cold. Back then, he'd told himself he'd return, that the timing wasn't right, that she'd understand. But time doesn't wait. He'd flown back to New York, Fashion Week, magazine features, the next collection, and then silence. He'd never called. He told himself she hadn't reached out either. But now he knew the truth. Noah stared at the pin in his palm. He closed his hand around it and whispered, "I'm sorry." Inside the apartment, Lauren sat by the window, the drawing of the faceless man now resting in her lap. Chloe and Ethan were curled on the couch, too tired to change out of their damp clothes. The silence in the room was heavy. "Do you think he'll come back?" Ethan asked softly. Chloe looked at their mom. Lauren answered, her voice thin. "He already came back. Just not the way I expected." Chloe turned to her brother. "We're not invisible anymore." Outside in the car, Noah put the pin back into the pouch and placed it beside the birth certificate on the passenger seat. He would not leave things undone this time. Not again. The man who once walked away from love now knew what it cost. And this time, he was going to stay. The morning air was thick with humidity as Noah parked outside the small, brick clinic downtown. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary. He had called Lauren that morning, asking if he could drive her to her chemo appointment. She hadn't said yes, but she hadn't said no either. Inside the waiting room, he spotted Chloe sitting with a sketch pad in her lap. She didn't look up. Ethan leaned against the vending machine nearby, arms crossed, earbuds in. Lauren emerged from the back, walking slower than she used to. A nurse steadied her elbow. Her skin looked pale against the soft lavender scarf Chloe had tied around her neck. It was handmade, stitched unevenly, but with care. Noah stood, clearing his throat. "I'm here to help." Lauren looked at him for a long second, then gave a slight nod. "Good, because we're tired." The ride home was mostly quiet. Ethan glanced at Noah through the rearview mirror, but said nothing. Chloe kept her eyes on the buildings outside, her fingers tracing invisible lines on the glass. When they pulled up to the duplex, Noah turned off the engine. "Let me take care of this. You shouldn't be doing it alone." Lauren raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly does this mean?" "Your bills, your treatment, their school, whatever you need." She looked at her children, then back at Noah. "We've learned how to get by." "Getting by isn't the same as living," he said softly. Ethan stepped out, slamming the door behind him. Chloe hesitated. "He doesn't like surprises," she murmured. "I don't either," Noah replied, "but I'm not leaving this time." Inside, Lauren sat down slowly on the couch. Chloe handed her a glass of water and joined Ethan by the window. The silence was tense, stretched. Noah stood awkwardly near the bookshelf. He noticed a framed drawing tucked between some books, a pencil sketch of two kids holding a paper bag under a rainstorm. The detail was remarkable. He picked it up gently. "Who drew this?" Ethan glanced over. "I did. That's me and Chloe last winter. The bag ripped. We lost all the food." Noah stared at it. "You're really talented." Ethan shrugged. "We just draw so we don't think about stuff." Chloe looked over. "We draw what we wish would happen too." "Like what?" Noah asked. Chloe glanced at her mother, who had closed her eyes to rest. "Like a house where we don't have to move when rent's due. A studio with fabric that doesn't smell like mold. And a dad who shows up." Noah swallowed hard. "I can't change the past, but I want to be here now." Ethan stood up. "Words are easy." "I know," Noah replied. "That's why I'll prove it." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small, the sunflower pin. "Your mom gave me this. The last time I saw her, I didn't forget. I just let fear run my life." Chloe stepped forward slowly. "You kept it?" Noah nodded. "I kept it, even when I buried everything else." Chloe took the pin from his hand, holding it gently. "Then start fixing what you buried." Ethan didn't speak, but for the first time, he didn't look away. Noah exhaled, feeling the weight shift slightly, not gone, but different. Outside, the rain had stopped. Inside, something small had begun to change. And on the windowsill, Chloe's newest sketch waited in pencil lines. A family sitting at a table, sharing dinner, with the faceless man finely drawn in. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of machines and the soft hum of an old ceiling fan. Noah stood by the window, staring out at the Charleston skyline. Lauren lay in the bed, her face pale, her eyes closed. Chloe sat beside her, sketchpad in her lap. Ethan paced near the door, arms folded tight across his chest. Noah turned slowly. "How long has she been like this?" Chloe didn't look up. "This morning was the worst. She couldn't even sit up on her own." "I should have come sooner," he said. "You're here now," Chloe replied, her voice steady but tired. That counts. A soft cough broke the silence. Lauren's eyes opened. She blinked against the light, then slowly turned her head toward Noah. For a second, her expression was blank, disoriented. Then, recognition flickered through her eyes. You came back. Noah stepped closer. I had to. She gave the faintest smile. 13 years late. I didn't know, he whispered, her breath caught in her chest. I sent letters, emails, after the twins were born. I never heard a word. Noah's hands clenched. Nothing ever reached me. Not a call. Not even a forwarded message. I used the contact info from your assistant, she said weakly. Maybe I was naive. No, he said firmly. You trusted the wrong person, and I never checked. He turned toward Chloe and Ethan. I'm going to find out what happened. If someone kept this from me. Lauren coughed again. Chloe leaned in, wiping her mother's forehead with a cool cloth. Save your strength, Mom. We'll talk later. Lauren looked at Noah. They're good kids. They've grown up with less than they deserved. But they've never blamed me. I don't blame you either, he said, voice cracking. I blamed you back then, when you vanished. But now I know. You were still reaching out. She nodded faintly. I never wanted anything from you. I just wanted them to know who they came from. Noah reached into his pocket and pulled out the small pouch. I kept this, he said, placing it in her hand. She opened it slowly, her fingers trembling. The sunflower pin lay inside, worn but intact. Her lips parted in a silent breath. You kept it? Every day, he whispered, but I buried everything else, until Chloe dropped that birth certificate and made me face what I lost. A tear slid down her cheek. You're still the same, she said, but softer. Noah smiled sadly. I had to lose you to realize what I missed. Chloe stood behind them, holding her sketch pad. Mom, look what I made. Lauren turned her head. On the page was a new drawing. A hospital bed, sunlight streaming through the window, and 3 figures standing around it. 1 girl, 1 boy, and a man kneeling, holding a pin. Lauren smiled, then reached up and placed the real pin on her blanket, a symbol of what was broken, now beginning to mend. Ethan finally spoke. So, what now? You just walk in and act like our dad? Noah looked at him. No, I walk in and ask if I can try. Ethan's jaw tightened. Trying doesn't fix 13 years. You're right, Noah said, but I can't erase the past. I can only change the next 13. The boy stared at him for a long moment, then looked away. Lauren's voice broke the tension. Let him try, Ethan. Ethan didn't answer, but he didn't argue. And as Noah stepped out to call the hospital administrator about a transfer to a better facility, Chloe picked up the sunflower pin and whispered, He's staying this time, Mom. I can feel it. The elevator doors closed behind Noah with a soft hiss as he rode up to the 24th floor of the Sullivan Atelier headquarters. The building gleamed with glass and steel, polished, pristine, the exact opposite of the warmth he'd just left behind at Lauren's bedside. He didn't bother greeting his assistant when he stepped out. Instead, he walked straight into his office, locked the door, and pulled open the drawer he hadn't touched in years. Inside, past fabric swatches and old press badges, lay a thin folder marked LP Correspondence. He pulled it out, heart pounding. It was empty. Noah turned slowly, walked back to the desk and pressed the intercom. Carmen, he said, voice low but firm. I need you in my office, now. His assistant appeared in under a minute, heels clicking against marble. Yes, Mr. Sullivan? Noah held up the folder. Where are the letters Lauren Pierce sent me? She hesitated, lips parting. I know she sent them, he continued. I saw her today. She told me everything. Emails, handwritten notes. You were her only point of contact. Carmen's posture shifted. Sir, I didn't think—" "You didn't think I should know I had children?" he snapped. "You made that decision for me? I thought she was after your name, your reputation, the brand. Everyone wanted a piece of you back then. She wasn't everyone," Noah said, his voice sharp but controlled. "She was someone I cared about. And those kids? They're mine." Carmen lowered her head. "I'm sorry. I'm not looking for an apology," he said. "I want the emails, the originals, anything you withheld, everything." "I deleted most of them," she whispered. "I didn't think they were worth saving." Noah's chest ached. "You were wrong." She opened her mouth to speak again, but he raised a hand. "Pack your things." "Sir." "Now." Carmen walked out slowly, shoulders tense. The moment the door closed, Noah sank into his chair. He looked around the office, floor-to-ceiling views, curated paintings, silent air. All of it meaningless. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and hit call. "Dr. Keene," he said when the line picked up. "I need Lauren transferred. Full oncology package, private care, start tomorrow." The doctor on the other end agreed, stunned by the sudden change in tone from the famously reserved designer. That evening, Noah returned to the duplex. Ethan was setting out paper plates, and Chloe was stringing fairy lights near the window, trying to make the space feel like more than survival. "I spoke to the hospital," Noah said as he stepped inside. "Your mom's going to be transferred tomorrow morning. Private care, best doctors in Charleston." Ethan stiffened. "What's the catch?" "No catch," Noah said. "She deserves a chance. So do both of you." Chloe walked over slowly. "You really fired your assistant?" "I did," he said. "She kept the truth from me. That ends now." Chloe nodded. "Good." Ethan glanced toward the hallway. "You should tell Mom. She'll want to know." Noah walked into the small bedroom where Lauren rested under a blanket stitched with sunflowers, Chloe's handiwork. She opened her eyes as he approached. "You're getting moved tomorrow," he said softly. "New place, better care." She blinked. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." He sat beside her. "I know who kept the letters from me, and she no longer works for me." Lauren exhaled slowly. "I always wondered if it was you or someone else." "It was me," he said, "because I should have looked harder." He reached into his coat pocket and placed a folded piece of stationery on her nightstand. Her old handwriting, printed from a recovered email. "I found this in a backup folder, dated June 12th. Lauren smiled faintly. That one had a picture of the twins. Ethan was missing 2 teeth. "I saw," Noah said, eyes glassy, "and I missed too much." Lauren reached for his hand. "You're here now." And for the first time, Noah truly believed that being present could begin to heal what was lost. Sunlight poured through the bay windows of Noah's Charleston home as Chloe and Ethan stepped inside, their eyes wide. Chloe's hand clutched the sunflower pin Noah had returned, now tied to her backpack zipper like a charm. "This place is huge," Ethan murmured, taking in the winding staircase, marble floors, and the tall portrait of a runway model in the foyer. "It's not just big," Chloe said. "It smells like lavender and new shoes." Noah chuckled softly behind them. "I had the guest wing cleaned out. You'll each have your own room. Come on, I'll show you." Ethan followed cautiously, glancing back at his sister. "We don't have to stay, you know. We can still go home later." Chloe didn't answer. She looked up at the chandelier above them. Crystal and delicate, nothing like their flickering kitchen light back home. A strange ache settled in her chest. Part wonder, part fear. Noah opened the first bedroom door. "This one's yours, Ethan. There's a desk for your art, and the sun hits that window best in the morning." Ethan stepped inside slowly. "Is this really okay?" "It's more than okay," Noah said. "You deserve more than couches and takeout shifts." Down the hall, Chloe opened her door. The walls were bare, but a mannequin stood near the closet wrapped in muslin. A sewing machine rested on a table by the window next to a set of sketchbooks. She gasped. "You did this?" Noah stepped into the doorway. "I asked your mom what you loved most. I hope it's a good start." Chloe turned slowly. "It's not just good. It's everything." That night, after dinner, spaghetti and too many breadsticks, Chloe and Ethan sat together on the living room couch, feet curled under them, flipping through old fashion magazines Noah had pulled from his archives. "Look at this one," Chloe said, holding up a dog-eared issue. "This was Mom's favorite shoot. She told me she wanted to redesign that red dress." Ethan nodded. "She would have made it better." Noah entered from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. "Then let's do it. Together." Chloe blinked. "What?" "You two have talent, real vision. I want to support that. Not just as your dad, but as someone who believes in you." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You think we're good enough?" "I know you are." He pulled out a flat box and opened it. Inside was Lauren's original sketchbook from Savannah, the one she carried the weekend they met. He'd kept it all this time, wrapped in silk. "I thought I lost this," Noah said, "but I found it in my archives last week. Your mom's first dress designs are in here. Maybe you can build on them." Chloe's eyes welled up. "You really kept it?" "It reminded me of who I was when I met her," he said, "and who I want to be now." Just as they smiled, a knock rattled the front door. Noah frowned and walked to answer it. On the porch stood a man in his early 50s, with sharp eyes and a tailored coat. His expression was too smooth, too cold. "Noah Sullivan?" he asked. "Yes." "I'm Mark Pearson, Lauren's cousin." He glanced past Noah into the house. "I heard the kids moved in here." Noah stiffened. "They're staying with their father." Mark smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We'll see about that." He handed Noah a folded legal notice. "Custody review. I'm challenging guardianship. Those kids are blood, and I have every right to be involved." From behind Noah, Ethan appeared. "Who is he?" Noah stepped between them. "He's no one we trust." Mark tipped his head. "See you in court." As he walked away, Chloe clutched the sunflower pin again. And inside, Noah closed the door with purpose. He wasn't just fighting for his children's trust anymore. He was preparing for a battle to protect it. The next morning, the house buzzed with quiet determination. In the newly renovated sunroom, Chloe stood at a drafting table, measuring out fabric swatches. The soft hum of the sewing machine filled the air. Across the room, Ethan adjusted the lighting setup he'd built from scratch. 2 ring lights, a tripod, and a white backdrop that doubled as a sheet clipped to curtain rods. Noah watched from the doorway, arms folded. Chloe glanced up. "What do you think of this fabric?" "It's bold," Noah said, stepping closer. "Just like your mom used to design." Chloe smiled, but it faded just as quickly. "Do you really think we can show this stuff? Like, for real?" "I think the world needs to see what you've been creating in silence." Ethan adjusted the lens. "I just want people to feel something when they look at it." "They will," Noah said, "because it comes from you." That afternoon, Chloe brought out an old sketchbook she'd hidden under her bed for years. "I used to draw on deliveries. Every stop, every break. This one, I did after we ran out of gas one night and had to walk home." She opened to a page. 2 kids under a street lamp, one carrying bags of food, the other shielding them with a jacket. Rain fell in charcoal lines. The only color, a small, yellow sunflower pin drawn near the girl's collar. Noah's voice dropped. "You kept that symbol going." "It was my lucky charm," she said, "even when it didn't feel lucky." He knelt beside her, looking at the sketch. "Would you let me frame this for the studio wall?" Chloe blinked. "You really want that there?" "I want the story," he said. "The pain, the hope, all of it." Later that day, while Lauren rested at the hospital, Noah took the twins downtown to his flagship design center. Inside the vaulted studio, surrounded by mannequins and runway mock-ups, he pulled back a curtain to reveal two workstations. One with a digital sewing setup, the other with a small photo editing suite. Chloe gasped. "Is this for us?" Noah nodded. "It's your space. Use it how you want." Ethan ran a hand over the keyboard. "Even the software I need. Lightroom? Photoshop?" "I asked one of my lead photographers to help set it up," Noah said. "She wants to mentor you if you're open." Chloe picked up a bolt of deep plum silk from the counter. "This fabric. It's the exact color Mom wore when she met you, isn't it?" Noah smiled softly. "She told you that?" "Only once," Chloe whispered, "but I never forgot." That night, back at the house, the family sat around the kitchen table. Sketches, mood boards, and laptop screens scattered like puzzle pieces. Chloe leaned over her first full gown design, tracing the hemline with care. "Look what I made, Dad," she said. Noah looked up. The word Dad hung in the air like a gift. He walked over slowly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It's stunning." Ethan turned the camera screen around. "And look how she glows in the photo." Noah smiled at both of them. "You're not just artists, you're storytellers." Just then, his phone buzzed. A message from his lawyer flashed across the screen. "Mark has filed for emergency custody hearing. Date set for next week." Noah's jaw tightened, but he tucked the phone away. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked. Noah nodded. "Yeah, we've got a lot to prepare for." He looked at the sketch on the table again, a sunflower pinned to the neckline. It wasn't just decoration. It was armor, and they were ready for the fight ahead. The lawyer's office smelled faintly of paper and pine. Noah sat across from his attorney, Vanessa Greer, a sharp woman in her early 40s with silver-streaked hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. Papers were spread across the desk, notarized letters, custody forms, DNA reports, and a binder titled Pearson vs. Sullivan. Vanessa tapped the edge of the documents. "Mark's filing is aggressive. He's leaning hard on emotional manipulation, says he's been a stable presence in the twins' lives." "He's barely seen them," Noah said. "He showed up once with a grocery bag and a half-hearted apology." "Still," she said, "he's family by blood. The court won't overlook that unless we prove motive." Noah opened a folder. Inside was a printed bank statement. Transfers from Lauren's old joint account with her aunt, where Mark had signed checks labeled medical reimbursement, but the funds had gone to a gambling app. "Will this help?" Vanessa's eyebrows lifted. "If we can show financial exploitation, it changes everything. You've done your homework." "I've had to," Noah said quietly, "for their sake." That evening, back at home, Chloe and Ethan sat on the floor of the sunroom, flipping through Lauren's old sketchbook. The pages were worn, corners bent, but the lines were vivid, like she'd drawn with memory instead of pencil. "Do you think Mom will get better?" Ethan asked, voice soft. Chloe nodded. "She's fighting." Noah walked in, setting down takeout containers. "Spaghetti again. Hope you're not tired of it." Chloe smiled. "It's our tradition now." As they ate, Noah pulled out a document envelope and placed it on the table. "What's that?" Ethan asked. "Insurance approval," Noah said. "Your mom's treatment is fully covered. Top specialists. We start new rounds next week." Chloe's eyes filled. "You're really doing all this?" "I'm not backing out," Noah said. "Not from her, not from you." A knock interrupted them. Chloe tensed. Ethan stood, walking to the front door. Through the glass, he saw Mark, again, this time holding a box. "Evening," Mark said smoothly as Ethan opened the door. "Just came to drop off some things from Lauren's apartment." Noah stepped in quickly. "That's not necessary." Mark smirked. "Thought I'd be helpful. You know, family to family." Ethan narrowed his eyes. You never brought her soup when she was sick. Now you bring boxes? Mark glanced down at the boy. Watch your tone, son. He's not your son, Noah said, stepping forward. Mark's smile faded. We'll see what the judge thinks. He handed Ethan the box and walked off without another word. Back inside, Chloe opened the top flaps. Inside were scraps of paper, fabric samples, and, at the bottom, a folded envelope. She pulled it out and gasped. It was a hand-addressed letter. The postmark was from 8 years ago. It had never been opened. To Noah, it read in Lauren's familiar handwriting. Chloe handed it to him. She did try, again. Noah's hands shook as he opened the letter. Inside was a short note. Lauren's words were careful, loving, a request, not a plea. She wrote, If you ever wonder what could have been, come see us. We're waiting, even if we don't know what for. Ethan looked at him. She never gave up on you. And now, Noah said, voice thick, I won't give up on her, or either of you. That night, he placed the unopened envelope in a frame beside the sewing machine. A quiet symbol of faith that never faded and love that was finally coming home. The sun hadn't yet risen when Noah stepped into his home office, flipping on a soft lamp. The room smelled like fresh paper and cologne. He laid out the final documents for the case. Lauren's notarized letter, the DNA test confirming his paternity, and the bank records proving Mark's siphoning of Lauren's finances. One more piece was missing. He opened a drawer and retrieved a wooden keepsake box. Inside was a faded photograph from 13 years ago. Him and Lauren at the Savannah Gala, both laughing, her sunflower pin catching the light. On the back, in Lauren's handwriting, the best mistake I ever made. He added it to the file. Later that morning, he met Vanessa, his lawyer, in the downtown Charleston courthouse. Her heels echoed through the corridor as she walked beside him. I got a subpoena approved, she said, handing him a copy. We're bringing in your former assistant. She can testify about the intercepted letters. Noah took a breath. It's time we tell the whole story. Meanwhile, Chloe and Ethan sat on a bench outside the courtroom, dressed in matching navy. Chloe wore a simple sunflower hairpin, the one Lauren had gifted her during her last hospital stay. Ethan stared at the floor. What if the judge doesn't believe us? Chloe reached over and grabbed his hand. Then we show them who we are. Inside the courtroom, Mark sat smugly with his attorney, a tall man with slicked-back hair and a gleaming briefcase. They whispered as Noah entered. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, called the hearing to order. Mark's attorney stood. Your Honor, Mr. Pearson has been in these children's lives since birth. Mr. Sullivan only recently reappeared. We question the authenticity of his sudden interest and the motives behind it. Vanessa rose calmly. Your Honor, we intend to show that Mr. Sullivan's absence was due to deliberate interference. We'll begin with testimony. The former assistant, Carmen, took the stand. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I received several letters and emails from Lauren Pierce. I discarded them without informing Mr. Sullivan. I thought I was protecting him. You were protecting his brand, Vanessa said. Not his heart, not his family. Carmen nodded slowly. I see that now. Next, Noah stepped forward. He held up the framed letter Chloe had found. This is one of the last things Lauren sent. It never reached me, he said, voice steady. But her words, her hope, outlived the silence. He looked at the judge. I'm not perfect, but I'm here now. I've built a home for Chloe and Ethan. I've supported their dreams, and I love them, not because a court demands it, but because they're my children. Mark scowled. He's just trying to buy love. They belong with family. Chloe stood suddenly, surprising everyone. We are his family, she said clearly. Mom trusted him, and we do too. Ethan stepped beside her. We've seen what Mark does. He wasn't there when Mom cried herself to sleep, but Noah was. The courtroom went still. The judge looked at them both, then down at the file in front of her, filled with letters, documents, sketches, and one faded photo with a sunflower pin. "Court will recess until tomorrow," she said, gavel falling gently. "But I've heard more truth today from 2 children than I've seen in years of custody cases." As everyone filed out, Noah knelt beside Chloe and Ethan. "You were brave today," he said. "Both of you." Chloe smiled. "We just told the truth." And inside Noah's chest something shifted. A quiet, fierce pride. Not just for winning, but for the kind of love that didn't need to shout, to be heard. The courtroom was quieter than the day before. Still, the tension wrapped around the benches like heavy fabric. Chloe and Ethan sat beside Noah, their backs straight, eyes focused. On the table in front of them rested the framed envelope, Lauren's letter that never reached him, now a silent witness to all that had been lost and reclaimed. The judge entered, nodding to both attorneys. "Before closing arguments, I have one question," she said, voice steady. "Is there any further testimony?" Vanessa stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to call Mr. Noah Sullivan back to the stand." Noah rose, walked calmly, and sat down again beneath the solemn seal of the state. Vanessa approached, holding up a single photograph. "Mr. Sullivan," she began, "can you explain what this image represents?" He took it in his hands. It was a photo Ethan had taken just days earlier. Chloe at her sewing table, her fingers pinning yellow silk into a dress shape. A sunflower pin gleamed at her shoulder. "It's more than a design," Noah said. "It's proof of a legacy, of a mother's love passed down, and a daughter stepping into her own voice." "And Ethan took this?" "Yes, with a lens his mother couldn't afford, but always believed he'd earn one day. I just helped him get there." Vanessa turned to the judge. "This is not about wealth. It's about intention, action, love that shows up no matter how late." Mark's lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, none of this changes the fact that Mark Pearson is a blood relative who's been legally involved." "Barely," Vanessa cut in, "and selectively. Our financial investigation shows Mark withdrew over $40,000 from Lauren's medical account and transferred it to a personal gambling wallet." The judge's brow lifted. Vanessa continued. "We've submitted bank statements, and here," she held up a notarized affidavit, "is Lauren's own signed statement describing emotional manipulation by Mr. Pearson during her most vulnerable months." Mark stood up. She was confused, sick. She didn't know what she was signing. The judge raised her hand. "Mr. Pearson, sit down." Mark dropped back into his chair, red-faced. Vanessa stepped back. "That's all, Your Honor." The judge folded her hands and looked at Chloe and Ethan. "Would you two like to say anything more before I rule?" Chloe looked at Ethan. He nodded. She stood up. "We know what family means. It's not who shares your last name. It's who stays when it's hard, who shows up with dinner, who sits beside your bed when you're scared." Ethan added, "We don't need more confusion. We need peace. And we have that with Noah." The courtroom fell into stillness. The judge leaned forward. "This case isn't about money, it's about trust." She glanced at Mark. "You've misused funds, manipulated a vulnerable woman, and arrived with entitlement, not care." Then her eyes settled on Noah. "And you, Mr. Sullivan, despite your mistakes, have returned with open hands. And stayed. That matters." She picked up the gavel. "Full physical and legal custody is granted to Noah Sullivan, effective immediately." Chloe gasped. Ethan whispered, "We won?" The judge smiled gently. "And I'll be recommending Lauren Pierce for continued top-tier care under the state's Medical Protection Program." The gavel fell. Court adjourned. Noah exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Outside, under the courthouse steps, the sun poured down in streaks of gold. Ethan pulled out his camera and snapped a photo of Chloe holding the framed envelope in one hand and Noah's in the other. She looked up and said, "Can we take this home now?" Noah nodded. "It's where it belongs." And for the first time, the word home didn't feel like a place. It felt like a promise. The sun dipped low over the Sullivan estate, painting the Charleston sky in the soft hues of rose and amber. Inside the sprawling house, laughter echoed down the hallway. Chloe and Ethan racing each other up the stairs, giggling breathlessly. For the first time in years, the house sounded like a home. Noah stood in the kitchen with Lauren's updated treatment plan in hand. Her medical team had adjusted her care for long-term recovery, with specialists rotating weekly. The prognosis was no longer terminal. It was hopeful. He set the file down, then looked at a note on the fridge. Chloe had written in bold marker, "Family dinner tonight. No excuses." A sunflower sticker was pressed beside it. Later, over a candlelit table filled with homemade spaghetti, Chloe's pick, the three of them ate together, no tension, no lawyers, no gavel waiting to fall. Ethan wiped his mouth and leaned forward. "So, what do we call you now? Dad? Noah? Sir Fashion Boss?" Noah laughed, nearly choking on his water. "You can call me whatever feels right." Chloe grinned. "Dad sounds good to me." Ethan nodded. "Me too. But I'm still calling you Sir Fashion Boss when you're being annoying." Noah raised his hands. "Fair deal." After dinner, Chloe pulled out a small wrapped package. "It's not your birthday, but we figured it's time." He opened it slowly. Inside was a framed photo, their first official picture together outside the courthouse, taken by Ethan. But layered over it, drawn by Chloe, was a tiny embroidered patch, a golden sunflower stitched carefully with bright yellow thread. Noah stared at it for a long time. "I didn't know what to get someone who has everything," Chloe said softly, "so I gave you a piece of what we are." Noah cleared his throat, voice low. "It's perfect." Later that night, they sat in the living room watching old episodes of a baking show. Chloe fell asleep first, head resting on his arm. Ethan dozed soon after, his camera resting in his lap. Noah didn't move. He just watched the screen flicker and felt the quiet weight of peace. The next morning, they visited Lauren. She sat upright in bed, color slowly returning to her cheeks. Her eyes lit up the moment they walked in. Chloe ran to her. "Guess what, Mom? We're officially all in." Ethan held up the photo with the sunflower patch. "Chloe made this. It's framed and everything." Lauren's hand trembled as she touched the glass. "It's beautiful." Noah pulled up a chair beside her. "We won. You're safe. The kids are staying." Lauren's eyes shimmered. "I always believed you'd find us." "I'm sorry it took so long," he said, voice cracking. "But I'm here now, for good." She looked at him for a moment, then reached out and gently touched his cheek. "I know." Chloe pulled something from her backpack, a fashion sketch pad filled with new designs. "I've been drawing non-stop. I think I want to do something with this, like you do." Noah smiled. "We'll build something, together." Ethan added, "And I'll shoot the lookbook." Lauren laughed softly. "My little dream team." As they talked, the framed photo rested by Lauren's bedside. Not just a picture, a new beginning stitched in yellow thread. Proof that even the most broken stories can be sewn back together. 3 months later, the storefront gleamed beneath Charleston's golden morning light. Brick-lined sidewalks bustled with curious neighbors and weekend tourists as a brand-new sign swung gently in the breeze. Thread and table. Elegant stitchery. Southern flavor. Inside, Chloe adjusted a final hem on the mannequin near the window. Her sunflower pin, now laminated into a gold-edged brooch, caught the sun just right. Ethan crouched with his camera, snapping shots from every angle. His portfolio, now thick with glossy proof, lay on a nearby table beside a tray of lemon shortbread cookies. Noah stood near the register, tightening his tie in the reflection of a mirrored column. "You ready?" he asked, voice light but nervous. Chloe beamed. "We've been ready, just didn't know it." The ribbon stretched across the entrance, fluttering in the breeze. A crowd was already gathering, murmuring with interest. Word had spread that Charleston's biggest fashion CEO was opening a boutique, not to sell clothes, but to stitch memories and serve food that told stories. At 11 sharp, Noah stepped outside. "Good morning, Charleston," he said, holding the scissors. "This isn't just a store. It's where design meets family, where food meets forgiveness, and where a sunflower bloomed from a birth certificate." He gestured toward the display window. Inside, framed between a swatch of Chloe's first dress and a photo Ethan took that courthouse day, was her birth certificate, her mother's name, Noah's name, and the words, "Father confirmed by DNA, Chloe Pierce Sullivan." The crowd went still, then a single clap, then many. He turned to Chloe. "Want to do the honors?" She took the scissors, her hand steady, her smile wide. Ethan caught the moment mid-snap as she sliced clean through the ribbon. Cheers erupted. Inside, the boutique buzzed with life. One half was filled with Chloe's pieces. Hand-sewn dresses, denim jackets embroidered with symbols of growth, tiny fabric patches bearing sunflowers, sparrows, waves. The other half was the cafe, cozy booths beneath warm pendant lights, each table named after a memory. Aspen, rainy night, the yellow envelope. Lauren's table bore a sign, reserved. Guests sampled sweet tea and shrimp sliders. Children colored at the design station in the corner. Local journalists snapped photos and whispered about the most heartfelt opening Charleston's ever seen. Back in the kitchen, Noah checked on the last tray. He paused, hand on a plate of cinnamon rolls, before stepping out. Lauren had just arrived. Pale, yes, but radiant in her own quiet strength. A scarf wrapped loosely around her head, her smile unchanged. She leaned on a cane, supported by a nurse, but her eyes searched the room with warmth. Chloe rushed to her, throwing her arms around her mother. "We did it! We really did!" Lauren pressed her cheek to Chloe's hair. "I never doubted you." Ethan showed her the framed certificate. "We kept it where it began. You started this, Mom." Lauren's lips trembled. "It started long before that piece of paper." Noah stepped forward. "It started with love." He offered her a chair at her table. The room dimmed just slightly as the afternoon sun passed overhead. A jazz trio began to play near the back. Chloe served the first official plate, her version of Lauren's peach cobbler, plated with a gold sugar drizzle in the shape of a sunflower. Noah watched the three of them laugh, then looked back at the framed certificate. It wasn't just proof of paternity anymore. It was a symbol of patience, of trust mended, and of a night that found family, when all hope seemed lost. The sun dipped low over Charleston, casting warm orange streaks across the storefront windows of thread and table. The golden light bathed the boutique's cozy interior, touching every stitch of Chloe's dresses and every framed photograph Ethan had taken. The birth certificate still held its place in the front window, faded slightly now, but more meaningful than ever. Lauren stood at the corner table, her scarf now replaced with a soft hat Chloe had sewn by hand. Her cheeks were fuller, her eyes brighter. The worst was behind her. Noah walked in from the back, brushing flour from his hands. "The morning shift sold out," he said with a grin. "Again." Lauren chuckled. "Charleston's never had a fashion cafe before. You've started something." He looked toward Chloe and Ethan at the design table. Ethan was showing a customer how to adjust the lighting on a flat lay shot. Chloe pinned a sketch to the community board, a tiny storefront with flowers blooming from its roof. Lauren whispered, "They're happy, Noah." Noah turned to her, his voice gentle. "They're whole." Just then, a little girl tugged at Lauren's sleeve. "Are you Chloe's mom?" Lauren knelt. "I am." The girl pointed to the sunflower design on the cafe's pastry bags. "I drew one, too. Can I give it to her?" Lauren smiled. She'd love that. Moments later, the drawing was pinned beside Chloe's sketch, 2 sunflowers side by side. That night, after closing, the family sat in the kitchen's warmth. Candlelight flickered. Laughter filled the room as Noah poured sweet tea and Ethan passed out cinnamon rolls. Chloe leaned into Lauren's shoulder. "This place feels like her," she said softly. "Who?" Noah asked. "Me. Before all this. And now, too." Lauren reached across the table and held Noah's hand. "Thank you," she said, "for giving me time, for seeing me through the worst." Noah's voice caught. "I didn't before, but I will now. Always." Ethan raised his glass of lemonade. "To second chances," Noah smiled. "To family. Found, stitched, and never broken again." As the candlelight danced, the camera Chloe had gifted Ethan for his birthday sat on the counter, pointed at the table, a timer blinking. Click. One photo captured everything. Lauren's tired but joyful eyes, Chloe's relaxed shoulders, Ethan's wide grin, and Noah centered, arms resting behind his children. Outside, the storefront lights dimmed for the night, but through the window, the glow from inside remained. Beneath it, that birth certificate, not paper anymore, but a promise that no storm, not time, not secrets, not fear, could keep a family from finding its way back home.